We've got the left on this side, we've got the right on this side. And it's supposed to be a spectrum, you're either on the left, you're on the right. But we're realizing that there is the left and the right that actually meet above or below, whatever you want. A horseshoe goes like that, below, okay? And there's a bringing together the left and the right on one subject. The deep left, as in Mdani, and the deep left as in the pink-haired diversity and transvestite and everything like that. And the deep right, Nick Fuentes, Hail Hitler, and let's celebrate Stalin's birthday. The one thing both of them have together is the hatred of the Jews.
Shalom, everybody. I've been back from Israel now for a couple of weeks, and today's interview is with a good friend of mine. He's been on the show before, and he is, as we recording this, still in Israel. Actually, he is in a very, very famous place if you think of the story of the Maccabees, because he is in Modin, where the Maccabees are from. We are going to talk about a lot of what's going on the ground in Israel. It doesn't get any better than when you have somebody who's there to give us the latest, and there's quite a bit. So I want to bring him in, and let me click him in, as we say. And here he is, David Tal.
Wow. With that kind of intro, I mean, I feel like I need to start dancing.
That's right. You should. Israeli dancing. Well, David, we were in Israel. We overlapped a little bit. You've been there for a while, and you were there for a little longer. And I took a group of about 40 people. It was a wonderful, wonderful trip. And one day I was picking up food at the hotel, and who do I see at a table? Sitting by himself at the time, my friend David. So it was good seeing you there.
Well, it's amazing, but here's one of the things a lot of people don't really kind of connect to until you come here. It's a really small country, and if two people are in the same country at the same time, there's a pretty good chance they are going to meet. It's like, now here's the thing. The weird thing about Israelis is that they think that America is the same thing. And they say, oh, I've got an uncle in Wisconsin. I mean, have you maybe met him at the Starbucks, And I was, okay.
Right. Yeah. California is not next to Wisconsin, and Seattle is not next to Florida. I know. Different sizes.
But Israelis is. And, well, maybe we'll go into it. I was at a very, very, I'm not going to say joyous event, but a very special event on Sunday and Monday. And if you can, I can share it. But it is 30 Israelis that do not know each other from other places. We're sitting in a hotel kind of lounge room, and all of a sudden, it's amazing to see. She says that she's from Kfar Aza. She knows somebody from Nitzanim. He goes from Nir Oz. Her husband knew somebody from this. I mean, and all of a sudden, I'm sitting there, and it's like 40 Israelis are sitting in one room, and all of a sudden, you see these lines connecting through their children, through their husbands, through their, and it's amazing to see how close-knit we all are. And that's something that only in Israel you get a kind of a feeling for.
That's right. It's a very unique thing. I agree. I mean, I've experienced some of that. Now, I want to get into today's multiple subjects under the banner of Israel and end times prophecy and Bible. I want to remind all of you, of course, as you're watching, to subscribe to our channel, and also visit our website at shalominmessiah.com, and click the QR code that you see on your screen right now. That will take you to our Telegram channel, and you can connect and get my daily updates on that. And there's also another QR code that says donate. If the Lord leads you to do so, you can donate to our channel to help us continue the ministry that we're doing here in America and in Israel as well. And also, I will list on the in the description the ways for people to get a hold of you, David, because you have a really very powerful, growing YouTube channel right now that people need to be aware of. So we'll put that in the description, and I'll ask you about it later. The Balagan Connection. All right, that's it. And the first thing I wanted to talk about, because you've been in Israel for a while, and I mean you know what's going on because you watch the news. But while you were in Israel, one of the new elephant in the room that we need to discuss is this the election of Zoran Mdani. I was hoping he was not going to make it, but I didn't think it was going to happen. I was afraid it was, he was going to get elected, and he got elected. And the first thing, I was talking about this with our friend John Holler in another podcast, and I want to ask your opinion because maybe you can shed some light. It's a big mystery to me. 20 to 30% of New York Jews voted for Mamdani, and I'm at a loss here. I mean, from one Jew to another one. What do you want to say to that?
Well, can I say something that other people can't repeat? Because if they repeat it, we're going to call them anti-Semitic. But me and you can say it between ourselves.
Nobody's listening.
Nobody's listening.
Nobody's listening.
It's, I'm going to say it's like there are people who have the N word. We have the J word. I mean,
right.
What I'm trying to say is this: we are a stiff-necked people, and you can repeat it because the Bible actually says we are.
That
And
is
what
correct.
I always come with at this kind of point when people ask me, as I say, open up your Bible, go to the part where Moses selected one Jew from each tribe to go and tour the promised land that God had promised us, because this is going to be our inheritance. This is going to be what God is going to do for us. And one representative from each tribe, and they spent 40 days, which is a very interesting number, inside the promised land, going to here, going to there, seeing what was going on. And they came out and said, amazing, the promised land is amazing, but 10 of the 12 said, we can't do this.
Not
Let's
going to
back
work.
down.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Let's settle in. Let's not make a balagan with the Gentiles. Let's go underneath. And basically they said, we cannot be what God told us to be. Only only two stood up and said, God said we are going to do this, we are going to do this. What I'm trying to say is we as a people have a very, very bad average on being right. And the majority is not always right. The majority is not always correct. And we as the people have shown again and again that although God has stayed with us again and again and again and again, we're still afraid that we're going to run out of insurance, that the God insurance is going to run out. And for some reason, a lot of our fellows in different places are more afraid of what's going on where they live than what's going on in the bigger picture. And that's the only way I can explain how people who see what's going on, who saw and heard what Mamdani said, who heard what's going to happen, who see our enemies actually joyous, and actually gave in the power to control their lives. Remember, I mean, there were a lot of us who wanted to go back to Egypt. And I think we're talking about, to a certain extent, the same kind of Jew.
Yeah, but Egypt. I mean, the going back to Egypt was based on suffering, or struggling in the wilderness, not knowing what tomorrow was going to bring, not trusting God. I give you that much. But with Mamdani, and not that it was right. I mean, going back was not the solution, was not the answer. But with Mamdani, he's already proven that he does not like Jewish people. He's not a friend of Israel. He's going to promote BDS. Actually, there is, I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but there's a memo that was leaked that came out 2 days prior to the election. Did you have a chance to read that memo?
Yeah, and I saw my name in it
You
because
did.
they're going to arrest IDF, acting IDF soldiers if they come
Well,
to New York.
and they
So
say
I'm thinking about, should I go to New York?
right, arrest Netanyahu and active IDF soldiers for war crimes. By the way, I don't think he can do that. He doesn't have the authority to do that. But he might be writing that in a memo, thinking that he's going to end up being the governor. I'm sure he's thinking that already because if it was so easy for him to get in a position of mayor, he's going to keep pushing. Which is very scary. But in that memo, 12 of the points, 9 of those are directly
Anti-Israel.
Anti-Israel. And if I got a copy of it, anybody can get a copy of it.
Yeah.
And so why would Jewish people? If Mamdani was to come up and say, "Hey, Jewish community, I am going to take care of you. I am going to give you more buildings for yeshivot. I'm going to give you more. You're not going to pay for the bus in Brooklyn. You're not going to, on Shabbat you can do this, you can do that." And like make promises like this. I would say like, "Hey, he's probably lying, but he's making promises, and they're being." In denial, they're blinded, but he's openly saying, I'm just going to make Jewish lives miserable. So that's the part that I don't agree with you. That, and which is typical because two Jews, three opinions.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll give you and I'll give you another Jew's opinion. I was listening to Ben Shapiro yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that he made a distinction of, and this is very interesting, I'm wondering what you think about this, is between the Jews who consider themselves religious, as in Orthodox and on all that, who did not vote for Mamdani, and the Jews who consider themselves secularist, humanist, atheist. They're the ones that did vote more for Mamdani. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. That one makes sense. I tell you why. Because I just finished writing an article on him that I'm going to do a video and I'm going to post on our blog as well on shalomandmessiah.com. In it, I speak of the Jews, the liberal Jews, and the only way I can explain the blindness of our people who vote for liberals and the neo-democrat, the Marxists of today, is that to them, to those that section of our Jewish people, to them, Israel is become almost irrelevant. To them, social justice, tolerance, multiculturalism, because they're liberal, is becoming their raison d'être, as we say in French, their reason for being. They want to promote social justice. They think that's what it is. They're wrong, of course, but they want to promote social justice and tolerance and multiculturalism. We all got to get along. And Israel, well, I don't live in Israel. My parents were Jewish. I'm Jewish, whatever that means, but Israel doesn't mean much to me. So there's no, and we got to be careful when you say that, because then we can be labeled, as we have in the past, in a different way. There's no loyalty to the land of Israel. And again, as soon as the minute I say loyalty, then I get all the hate comments on YouTube when they say like, "Oh yeah, you're loyal to Israel, but you're not America first, and you live in America." That's not what I said. You can be an American patriot and still be loyal to the land of Israel, especially if you're Jewish. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's like I'm going to say, for lack of a better term, we're the club of the people living under the rock, and Jews by definition are a fearful people. And I think there is an element of that if we are a fearful people, we want to give power to the ones who are for diversity, who are for allowing, and we want to be like everybody else. We don't want to be different. We want to be like everybody else. And I think this is a Jew. And let's not forget, most revolutions in the world, by the way, including the Industrial Revolution, including the Bolshevik Revolution, including most of them, were led by Jews, or at least planted in many cases by Jews. The human rights movement, the blacks, okay, there were a lot of Jews inside that. back then. So we're in the middle of this because we are the instigators of change, and I think this is also a part of what we're talking about. It's a fear factor. It's a dominating fear factor, and some of us take the words of Tuvia very seriously. I mean, we are the chosen people, but God couldn't have you have chosen somebody else, and they don't want to be the chosen people. They don't want to be on that label. The only problem is whether they do or they don't. The atheists were loaded onto the trains together with the Orthodox in Warsaw Ghetto. And the Jewish, woke, pink haired, keffiyeh wearing, I am ashamed of what people do in my name, Jews, are going to be persecuted in New York, just like the Streimel wearing Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn. And the enemy knows who they are
That's right.
better than they know who they are.
That's
And
right.
that's the sad part of the thing.
That's the sad part. At some point, it's going to backfire, and I think it's sooner than later. And so now, because of what's happening with Mamdani, and of course, with Mamdani, we've got a multi-headed monster like the Hydra of Lerna, that multi-headed monster, because he's got the in his person, you're looking at the red-green axis. He's got the liberal, Marxist, leftist ideology coexisting with Sharia law and Muslim ideology. How that is possible, I don't know, except that I know, because I've been doing this for 25 years now, that when it comes to going after the Jews, rationality is not a requirement.
Here's the thing. I'm going to push back a little bit on that because I think what I am seeing now, and maybe this is a place to widen it out. We're watching the civil war and the MAGA movement going on, and the whole Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. I just now put up a video about the horseshoe effect. I don't know if you've heard that term, which
Explain it.
basically we've got the left on this side, we've got the right on this side. And it's supposed to be a spectrum. You're either on the left, you're on the right. But we're realizing that there is the left and the right that actually meet above or below, whatever you want. A horseshoe goes like that, below, okay? And there's a bringing together the left and the right on one subject. The left and the right agree on one thing. The deep left, as in Mamdani, and the deep left, as in the pink-haired diversity and transvestite and everything like that. And the deep right, Nick Fuentes, Hail Hitler, and let's celebrate Stalin's birthday. The one thing both of them have together is the
Israel.
hatred of the Jews. The
Absolutely.
hatred of Israel and the hatred of the Jews. That's what we call the horseshoe. That's holding them together. And in the scary part is that this isn't the first time that happened. Did you watch Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, the interview where Nick Fuentes is a Hitler celebrating, Jewish Holocaust denying white supremacist, okay? And he's very, very strong with young men that are angry of being disenfranchised, feeling that they're disenfranchised. And again, what they're doing is blaming the Jews. The only thing I'm missing when I talk about this and when I see this is to put brown shirts on them and go through the streets of Brooklyn with clubs to break the windows of the stores of the Jews in Brooklyn. It's brown shirts.
Well,
It is
it's
so brown
wait,
shirts.
wait, it might be coming.
I mean, again, and anybody who knows what the brown shirts are, which were the youth movement that put Hitler in power in Nazi Germany, and again, he pressed the button of their feeling of victimhood and rage after losing World War II, and these young men didn't have anywhere to send their rage. I mean, it is this kind of dynamic that the left and the right are hooking into. And again, like we've seen before, we the Jews have become the common denominator, which is why I don't think The people perpetrating this are stupid. I think that the right wing understands that if it's going to take votes from the left in the coming elections in 2028, hatred of the Jews is going to allow them to do that. I don't know if that makes sense. And
No,
I think that's what I'm seeing happening.
no, we it makes total sense. We are that's what's dividing our country. That's what's dividing. Even the conservatives are divided now. I just did an article and a video on Tucker Carlson, and the reality is, a lot of people want to remember Tucker Carlson for all the good commentaries that he did 7, 8 years ago at Fox. And I remember, and I used to watch them, and they were enjoyable, and they were educational, and they were, you had chutzpah back then, but it was righteous chutzpah, founded on truth, on facts. And he turned on all of us, but I think people are ignoring his position on Israel, and the conservatives, they still support him. They still want to follow Tucker Carlson and support him because they still think he's the old Tucker that they love so much, and they can't relate to the issue of Israel. They don't care. They ignore it. So they just look at it's like when, like in my article I put, you vote for a candidate and you say like, hey, he's good on 4 of the 5 main topics for me. He's good on abortion. He's good on death penalty. He's good on same-sex marriage. He's good on immigration. I'm not sure. I don't know about Israel, but this is really not a concern of mine. But I like the other 4, so that's good enough for me. So, but that's a mistake because Israel is a big issue and it's going to divide all of us.
I'm going to say what I find fascinating, and Tucker Carlson's an example of that. Candace Owens, by the way. How did Candace Owens, when did Candace was in Israel? I actually didn't meet her, but I met some of the people that were with her on tour in Israel when she was in Israel. She was part of Turning Point. Turning Point sent its people. Charlie Kirk sent its people to Israel. So what turned Candace? What turned Tucker? And here's an interesting thing. They became Catholic.
You took it out of my mouth. And it's a brand of Catholicism that goes
There you
back
go.
to pre-1965. Okay, that's the I was discussing that with John the other day, with John Holler, and it's that brand that does not accept the 1965 Vatican II with Nostra Aetate, which is our state or whatever it means, where they said, when the Catholic Church said, okay, and I think in 1965 it was Paul VI, I believe. I remember, well, I was a kid, but I remember him. And that's when he declared, like ex cathedra, like as almost as good as God's word in the Catholic faith, Catholic religion, I should say. He declared that we're not going to hold the Jews accountable or responsible for deicide, for killing God anymore. Enough already. Took him 1965 years. I would say it's a long time, but there is a branch of Catholicism. Forgot the name, but it's those who believe that the seat, I think it's sede vacante or something like that. They believe that the seat of the Pope is vacant right now. They don't believe that the current Pope is the right candidate, and they hold to a pre-19. It's like Israel pre-1967 and Catholic Church pre-1965. But that brand of Catholicism, Candace Owens married a guy, and he holds to that view. Nick
Exactly.
Fuentes holds to that view. I don't know about Tucker
Exactly.
Carlson because he's not a
Tucker,
Catholic.
Tucker. I mean, and again, it's that kind of Catholicism, or it's that kind of Christianity. And here's the thing: very weirdly, there is a connection between that dynamic, which actually has to disavow the Jews from the promise. meaning you cannot turn we, the church, into the great power, into the great solution, into the great promise without taking the promise. I mean, we, the church, need to take the promise from the Jews. Otherwise, we're just another denomination. Otherwise, we're just another religion. And they are deep into replacement theology.
Yeah.
And here's my problem, though. That mind virus, or to put it in Tucker Carlson's words, okay, has seeped into, I'm going to say shamefully, the Calvary Chapel movement. And we're seeing other churches who are saying the Jews cannot be the promise, because otherwise, what promise do we have left as Gentiles if the Jews still keep the original promise? So we have to disassociate them.
Read Romans 11. There's plenty of room for Gentiles. Read Romans 11, where they're grafted in the tree of blessing. That doesn't make them Jews, but it's they don't read their Bible.
Is the promised land promised to the Jews or to all of the Christians?
To the Jews.
I sat with a pastor, the grandson of a famous, very famous pastor, who, believe me, knows the Bible better than I will ever know the Bible. And he says the promises are to Jesus. Jesus owns the promised land. It's Jesus's. It's not the Jews. And if you think it's yours, you're a colonialist.
Wow.
And this is a Calvary Chapel pastor.
Wow. So that's a problem. That's a problem, because that again, it goes back to just stretching the Bible to fit the agenda of man, and reinterpreting it to say something else, because it doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible. The land is clearly given as a promise to Abraham and his descendants in Genesis 12, and then delineated the boundaries of the land, as you well know, are found in Genesis 15. They have not been fulfilled yet. They'll be fulfilled, I believe, and I think on that one you and I agree. Not that we disagree on a lot, but it'll be in the millennial kingdom. They'll be fulfilled in the millennial kingdom, the final boundaries. But this is a Jewish land. Listen, friends. The fact that Israel is the land the deed of the land was given by God to the Jewish people does not make us special in a way that we're better than anybody else. We still need to come to God through the Son, through Yeshua, by his blood shed on the cross for all people, including the Jews, including David, including Olivier. It's just that in part of God's plan, he selected the Jewish people as a witness to the nations, as a blessing to the nations. We've seen the blessings, okay? I don't like to talk about this. It's not even on my agenda, but David got me started. It's the two Jews arguing here, but I'm just gonna say it because it's true. We have blessed the world. We have blessed the world. Now not you and I, David, but the Jewish people. 1955 or 1959, I forgot what year, the polio vaccine was invented by a Jew. And so many things were invented post-1945. If the Jews had been eliminated in the Holocaust, the world would be a very different place, very different. So God is keeping his promise. We are a blessing to the world, and maybe that's making people jealous. The land has been given to the Jews. Look at the size of the land. What's the big fuss?
One of the things I like to kind of connect also here is this. I use the term, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me. We all know what a PK is. You've heard me use this before. PK is a pastor's kid or a preacher's kid, and in the church environment, they always have a special role. I think we're the GKs. We're God's kids. And we don't always do the right thing. And God says again and again, you've done the wrong thing, and I'm going to punish you, and I'm going to, and we're going to hit you with the rod, and but we're always the GKs. And when somebody passes something to his son in inheritance, meaning if you pass on your property to your son, that doesn't mean your son is a better person. That doesn't mean that he's always right. That doesn't mean he might not be an idiot. I'm sorry, I don't know what your son is. But what I'm trying to say is when you pass that deed to your son, you're giving him something that you have a right to give him. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make him special. That makes what you did for him special. And that is, God passed us the deed to this land for all of the reasons. I don't know. I mean, we can go into them. We all know some of the reasons. That doesn't mean we're special, but that means God did something for us. And I think that's what our Gentile friends are having a hard time kind of connecting to. I want to add one more piece to this, and that is we don't always do the right thing, but we
No.
are pretty good. We are pretty good. But because there is a jealousy, everybody's going to take every tiny little thing that we do and turn it into a monster.
Scrutinize
And
it.
it's more than actually to turn it upside down and to believe things. I'm going to be starting a new line of arguments saying, listen, I'm not a baby killer. I mean, why do I have how do I prove I'm not a baby killer? I wear a uniform. I'm in the IDF. Why is it okay to say F the IDF? I mean, why is it what happened that this became normal behavior? The only way to justify it is that we are the GKs. People are jealous of us. The world is jealous of us. But let's not forget, we pay a price for what is going on. Did you hear the discussion between Gad Saad and Joe Rogan about the Jews?
No,
And
not
just a
yet.
small piece. Gad Saad, he's a famous Jewish intellectual, basically, was on Joe Rogan's story and talking about, and God picked up on something, and he asked Joe Rogan, he says, Joe Rogan, I mean, you're talking about the Jews. Do you know how many Jews there are in the world? And Joe Rogan says, well, so God said, picked up on this. He said, okay, let's push him. He says, how many Jews do you, this is Joe Rogan, the greatest podcast in the world, the most biggest platform in the world. And he says, Joe Rogan, just tell me, what do you think? Give a guess. How many you think? And Joe Rogan goes, well, there's 9 billion people on the planet today. I'm going to say 1 billion Jews.
When was that podcast
A couple
created?
of weeks ago. A
Are you
couple of weeks ago.
serious?
I'm totally serious. You can find it. And then God says, "Are you sure?" And Joe Rogan says, "Well, I want to be conservative. Maybe just 500 million Jews." And God says, 12, 13, maybe 14 million Jews. Did you know that? And Joe Rogan was floored. You see, that is the problem. Everybody thinks that I mean, even people, even smart people, even people who know the world think that we're this great power when we are this. And I think it's fascinating to see how the world sees us in a completely different world from what we see ourselves. But it's
Wow.
scary.
That if it didn't come from you, and I trust your research and your what you share online, I would have a hard time believing it. Because Joe Rogan, you would think he would do his research, and you would think at least he would know, because this is basic knowledge, that there's only about up to 15 million Jews in the world.
I think that's the thing. It's basic knowledge, but it's not the basic image. And the image becomes more important than the truth. And that is the core of what we're talking about. And I'm going to say, Olivia, and I think you would agree with me that if there is a role for the Jews to play in the world, is there a role for me and you to play? It's to bring the truth because the imagery, the idols, the golden calves are becoming more and more important in the world that we're living in. And I think this is the war that we're fighting right now.
A war for the truth. Now, this all started when we were talking about Mdani and and what's happening in New York. And I've noticed in the last not hasn't been very long. The last couple of weeks. By the time this posts, I noticed that Jewish people are making plans to go back to Israel now. And I'm not talking about the regular plans of Nefesh B'Nefesh or the Jewish Agency. I'm talking about, by other means to make Aliyah, to not stay in New York. Some will probably move to Texas. Some will move to Florida. But there are people that are making plans to move to Israel. And yet Israel is still, things have calmed down, but there's a lot of turmoil. I'm curious, you're still there, so you've heard about it. as Jewish people are getting ready to maybe make a move, what's going on with, I heard about this Gaza base to control the rebuilding of the Gaza Strip and to demilitarize and de-radicalize. I don't think you can de-radicalize radical Muslim, but that's just who am I to know all this? So what's going on with this base? What do you know about it? You were there
So
recently, right?
yeah, kind of. I wouldn't buy it the other day. I'm planning on going down and see if I can connect to somebody there. Let's see if I can explain what was going on. Gaza is now half in Israeli hands, half in the Hamas hands. The Hamas, according to the ceasefire, should hand over all of the hostages. They've handed over even all of the remains, meaning the ones that are deceased, except for four. They, by the way, handed over one yesterday that has been actually whose body was taken 14 years ago, who fell in a battle 14 years ago, and he was just now returned to burial in Israel. So that is the situation. And when that ends, the Hamas is supposed to give up its weapons and give up its control of Gaza, and a multinational force is supposed to step in and administrate Gaza Strip instead of Hamas.
Is it still
Hamas
under the leadership of Tony Blair? Is that still going?
No, they're not talking about Tony Blair. I don't know who give it, but they're talking about a joint force that has at least four or five different nations that are going to be playing in it. The Americans, the Qataris, the Turks, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, and some kind of even Indonesian and other nations. So, but the thing is this: whether they want to or not, the United States has created the mechanism, has put a big, massive. This is what the Americans do. They'll put a big base there. They'll say everybody has, how do you say, base pass, and we will make Israel allow people from Qatar, soldiers from Qatar, Qatari soldiers carrying weapons to go into this American base, and Turkish soldiers carrying weapons to go in. And this is close enough, by the way, it's about half an hour drive from Gaza. This is close enough to Gaza that we can actually keep an eye on what's going on, and we will be able to kind of change the situation in Gaza. What Trump doesn't take in consideration is that Hamas doesn't care. Hamas wants to do the Samson thing in Gaza, and he doesn't care. And I don't see a Qatari soldier shooting at a Hamas terrorist in order to disarm him. So until Hamas decides to disarm, it's all posturing. It's kind of movement. It's like the flotilla will make a lot of noise, but there's no actual aid in there. And what's critical right now is for the Hamas to say, okay, we're willing to give up, and they have not decided to do that yet.
And they won't. They won't. But so you said there's only four bodies that need to be returned.
Four bodies that need to be returned from the hostages. Yes.
And do you think they know where the bodies are?
No, no. And again, Hamas has done a good job of hiding this. I mean, we knew, I mean, it's been 14 years since Sadar Goldin was taken, and we've been looking for it. But did you hear the story about the 100 Hamas soldiers that are stuck in the tunnels under Rafah?
I don't think I have.
So there's an area under Israeli control and under Gaza control, and in the area under Israeli control, in the tunnels underground, we don't know where. By the way, there's between 100 and 200 Hamas fighters, and they're in that area, and they won't come out because if they come out, they will be killed. So they refuse to come out. But their families in Gaza are putting pressure on Hamas to put pressure on the mediators to allow them out. And Trump has actually agreed to let them come out from the tunnels underneath Gaza. It's absurd.
It's the same Trump that just invited Al Jalani to the White House. This can't be good.
Have you seen the picture of him with the two heads of people that he beheaded?
Not recently when he was with Al Qaeda.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the internet. You can find out who this guy is, And Trump basically said, his background is going to be an asset for us. Yes. Trump thinks that, well, and I have to say he's been doing it. He has been businessing and agreementing and mediating all of these different factions. What he does very well is manages to stress and to touch the business aspect. I mean, let's make a deal. We can make a deal.
That's
What
his
he that
that's his mode of operation. That's the only way
that's
he
who he
knows.
is.
That's the only way he knows.
But he doesn't realize that there are some things that aren't done by deal. There are some things, and I'm going to say it with a lot of there are some things that are issues of faith. There are
Some things are
some
done
things that
by faith, and some things are also need to be done by force. I'm sorry.
yes,
In the
and
Middle East, force is a major player in making things happening.
so that's where we are. And I think in the end, he will have no choice but either to let Israel finish off Hamas completely, or if he doesn't want to let Israel do that, then he's going to have to find somebody to do it. And I don't know. I mean, I don't see American boots on the ground in Gaza taking out the Hamas soldiers from the tunnels.
No, no, that I don't think that would. I don't think that would play well. On that's not a good color on Trump. The So the Syria and the White House. I mean, I know he's the lesser of two evil. Compared to Assad, I guess, from different perspective. Uh, but I don't see. I mean, is we're in a ceasefire right now with Gaza, but Hamas is not going to stop it, are they?
No. By the way, not Hezbollah either. We're having a very big. I was on the border with Lebanon last week with the commander of the 8th Armored Brigade, actually overlooking Lebanon and what's going on inside. I don't know if you know, but there's a 2-mile buffer zone around the border from between on the border of Israel, where nobody in Lebanon actually can move. I mean, we're standing up there, and these are villages that I knew from southern Lebanon. There's nobody living there. Everybody has moved out. They're not living there because they know that if they live there, they're taking a chance of being a part of the war because the Hezbollah hasn't given up.
Is it
And
Is
while
it
we're
north of Metula? Where is that?
north of Metula or north of Naharia or north of you would say Rosh Nikra, the white cliffs on the edge. And here's the thing, I'm looking at that, nothing's moving. You don't see any cars, you don't see any trucks. And then all of a sudden I see these two white vehicles driving down the side. And I said, Dovi, what's this? And he says, well, the only thing that moves in this part of southern Lebanon is the United Nations. And he said, I was in there during the battle with Hezbollah before we kind of reached an agreement. He says, literally, I actually stood in a Hezbollah ammo depot. I mean, missiles, rockets, body armor for a unit of 30 people. They put these things in houses inside southern Lebanon. And he says across the street from the house that I was in, where I saw all of this, was a UNIFIL, a United Nations position. And the thing is that the Hezbollah was putting their ammo dumps next to United Nations position because they knew that Israel wouldn't bomb them there.
Well, that's the way they operate in Gaza Strip with Hamas under hospitals and schools and mosques and civilian homes. That's the way they operate, so they know they'll be protected. And so we kind of need to wrap this up soon. Where does Israel go with this? And what about Bibi? I mean, is he getting pressure from the Israeli government right now? Because we don't get the real news in the U.S.
Okay, so does PB get pressure? Always. PB
Yeah.
is always under pressure. And we have our crazies, and we don't have enough time to go into what happened with our attorney general and what would you call the main lawyer of the military legal wing, who turns
Uh,
out have you ever watched JAG or
Yeah, yeah. I was
NCIS?
thinking of Jag, but I don't know if it's the
Yeah,
equivalent of that. Yeah.
the equivalent of JAG it would be kind of so. She turns out that she actually allowed a video, a doctored video of Israeli soldiers beating up on Palestinian prisoners, and that went viral, and the whole world put us on the same, how do you say, moral equivalency of the Hamas because of that. And it turned out it was a doctored video, and she did it because she wanted to get back at somebody. She's now in jail. So we have our crazies in here. And his government is holding together, but one of the main issues, that you know this as much as I do, is what are they going to do with the Orthodox element in our society, the Orthodox who don't want to join the army, and there's a growing pressure, political pressure on Bibi to make them join the army. So he's holding his coalition together by a hairstring and kind of maneuvering this. Well, the situation in Gaza hasn't really been resolved, but in the meantime, things are going forward. So on the whole, I think we're in a good direction. I got to say, it looks like we're in a good direction right now. And that,
Bibi cannot sustain his majority if he doesn't have the Orthodox vote, right?
not completely. It depends on this, and the last polls are talking about. Well, first of all, let's make this clear. If there's an election tomorrow, Bibi takes big time, but he doesn't get 61 seats out of 120, meaning he doesn't get the majority. So he will have to make concessions with smaller parties in order to make concessions.
Right.
The political maneuvering has gone such a way that the country is going to the right. The country is going more religious. The country is going to the right. And here's a very interesting thing that's happening in the country. Everybody in Israel is pregnant. The whole country is pregnant right now. We're having a baby boom.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
We're having a huge baby boom right now. So the whole country is going religious, more religious. The whole country is going more right. So that's kind of moving up a little bit of the political. So a right wing majority government is more feasible today. And if we go just a little bit more right, then he will be able to make a coalition with right leaning parties without the need for the Orthodox.
That would be huge for him because right now, I mean, I was in Israel. That was the day. Well, the day that I left, actually, I changed my flight because of that because I was going to get stuck in this 200,000 balagan of Orthodox Jews blocking the roads in Jerusalem and maybe miss my flight. And so, there was this big protest. You were there when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the day that I left. Yeah, and so well, I'm glad to hear that. We get together, we do those programs, and it's always like it's bad, and what's next, but you sound like there's a little hope for Israel right now. There's a little bit of respite, and maybe, but that also gives us a great opportunity for ministry there, and. In closing, I want to hear about your ministry there. What is it? What is it called? What does it do?
Well, I'm going to share something quickly that happened to me just the day before yesterday. We have a ministry called Gihon Springs, and what we do is we support on the ground elements in Israel. We support ministries, we support youth ministries, we support a printing press. But for all kinds of reasons, we've been really invested in supporting the widows of the soldiers who have fallen. And we helped fund a widow's retreat in a beautiful, beautiful hotel in the southern in the Negev desert. And I was there just to be a part and just to be this. But one of the things that happened was in the closing element of that, I got to stand up and explain that we're here to support Israel. And one of the things that one of the girls asked me, these are women who, I'm not going to say, Christy was talking to me. It's not that their husbands died; their husbands were killed, their husbands were murdered, or their husbands fell in battle. I mean, this is a completely. So they're all younger women because they are married to people who are military age. Does that make sense?
Right.
And some of them a little bit older because we do reserves. But anyway, long story short, when they asked me why are people from America supporting them like this so they can have this wonderful weekend. And I got to say in front of these 40 widows, because we're Christians, because we believe in Yeshua. And I said, Yeshua, not Yeshu. And I saw some of them go like this. And I didn't explain, I didn't continue there, but three of them came up to me later and said, why? What is this? And I got to share the gospel with these young women. What I'm trying to say is this: Israel is open today. Israel is open today in a way that it never has. Now, you can't come and put a New Testament in somebody's hand and say, I want to make you a Christian. But you can bring Christian love to the Jewish people today and say, I am doing this in the name of Jesus.
And, and,
That
and,
opens
and
doors.
that's very, very true and very important. And that is why our ministry, as well as you've done your own thing from before us, but our ministry, we go there several times a year. And, I've borrowed the term that I got from our friend Keith, ministry of presence. We're there. We're there.
Yeah.
You're at war. You're struggling. We are here with you. When we're in Israel, we support. We bring supplies. We help with different needs. But it's not just like let's just send a check and move on. We take time away from our schedule to get on a plane, to get there, and to meet with people, to hold their hands, to pray for them, to break bread with them. And I think that's what makes a difference.
They were so touched. These young
That's
women were
wonderful.
so touched by this.
That
And again, and thank you for what you're doing. And they asked me to convey their thanks to people in there. I met some schoolgirls on the hill, and I said, "What do you think about what's going on?" And they said, that people are so happy that the other side, actually, because we hear hatred, we hear f the army, and we hear terrible things, and then somebody comes and says, we love you because of Jesus, because of Yeshua. That blows their mind, and we need to do more of this.
Absolutely. Well, this is a really good way to end. We love Israel because of Yeshua. I know this is true for me. This is true for you.
Yes.
And friends, beyond that, Yeshua loves you. And if you don't
Yeah.
have a personal relationship with him, today's your day. I like to end my podcast by inviting people to consider giving their life to Yeshua, because I did 42 years ago, you did many years ago, and this was the best decision we've ever made. And so you can do that too. Simply believe that he is the Messiah, he is the Son of God, and invite him in your life. Your life will never be the same. You'll be a new creature, and you have a secure spot in eternity, in the presence of Hashem, in the presence of God. It doesn't get any better than that. So thanks for watching. David, what is your website? How do people get a hold of you?
Well, hit Balagan Connection, right there,
Right there.
balaganconnection.com. Would probably be the best way, and just go through there and you can connect to everything that we do. Or Gijón Springs, you can get to Gijón Springs through the Balagan Connection too. And again,
Is that GihonSprings.com?
GijónSprings.com, Gihon.
Okay, Gihon. I will put those in the links in the description. What you're doing is great, and I thank you for that, and I hope people connect with you. Thanks for joining me today. How much longer are you going to be in Israel? A few more weeks?
Well, I got 3 more weeks. I'm having a wedding. My son's getting married.
That's
Say
right.
hallelujah. Say thank you. It's going to be a very interesting wedding too. And maybe I'll take some pictures so you can put it on the website. I mean,
Mazel tov, mazel
my
tov.
son in a Strymel is always, I should make that a
Oh,
podcast.
he's gonna wear a shtreimel?
Yes.
Oh, he's people don't know what shtreimels are. Those big vertical circular mink fur hats that Orthodox Jews wear. And so your son is having an Orthodox Jewish wedding. I want to see pictures. I want to see pictures.
I will send you pictures.
That'll be
It's
cool.
going to be fun.
All right. Well, friends, thanks for watching. As always, stay in touch with us, connect, and until next time, shalom and be blessed.